Hi everybody, welcome to Crandall Reviews. Today taking a look at Quentin Tarantino's The Hateful Eight. Now this movie is being released in standard digital at most theaters, but there is also the 70mm Roadshow. I've seen both. They are very similar, but the 70mm Roadshow does begin with a beautiful overture with an awesome Ennio Morricone score playing. It is a few minutes longer, not noticeably so, no vital scenes, but some interesting dialogue back and forth that gets cut for the shorter version. And then, of course, it has an intermission, which is fantastic because everybody can get up, take a piss, and not miss anything in the movie. Now, I said I've already seen it twice, so obviously I really enjoyed The Hateful Eight. It's got so many nods to classic westerns like The Searchers, a lot of Bonanza references, and John Carpenter's The Thing, one of my all-time favorite movies, was one of Quentin's main inspirations for this film, and there are a lot of parallels. I am a huge Quentin Tarantino fan. Usually his movies end up making my top 10 of the year list. Hateful Eight's going to be no different than that. Even if overall it is sort of lesser Tarantino, it's still better than 90% of the shit that they're cranking out, and it's all because of that great Tarantino dialogue. This is a movie that really is deliberately paced. I don't want to say slow paced because it's not really boring, but it is deliberately paced. So we take our time getting to Minnie's haberdashery, where we start to really get our parallels to The Thing, where it's people isolated in one location, paranoia, you don't know who you can trust, and the scene where they put the poles out to the outhouse, of course, is very reminiscent of The Thing. Lots of small nods here and there, and the Ennio Morricone score that's so fantastic is made up of some cues he actually didn't use for The Thing, but he sort of jazzed them up in a Quentin Tarantino way where we get a bit more of a funky hi-hat and stuff going on, and the score here is a real standout. But the 70mm version, such gorgeous photography by Robert Richardson the whole time, even when it is just people in a room. They use the widescreen frame to great effect, fantastic framing. Sometimes Tarantino is a little bit indulgent on the wintry vistas where we have 4-minute long shots of just a stagecoach going through the snow, but I'm willing to forgive those small indulgences because the rest of the movie is so strong. I really love Kurt Russell in this, is amazing as John Ruth the Hangman. His iconic mustache, and when he grabs it, it's hilarious. Walton Goggins, who I love from Justified, and he was in Django. He was great on The Shield. He almost steals this entire movie as Chris Mannix, the guy who claims to be the new sheriff of Red Rock. Then we get a lot of returning Tarantino favorites. Tim Roth as Oswaldo Mowbray. So good in Reservoir Dogs, and this movie has a lot of echoes of Reservoir Dogs. Michael Madsen is back as Joe Gage, silent, mysterious guy held up at Minnie's haberdashery. And of course, Samuel L. Jackson as Marquise Warren is just so good. Sam Jackson is always great in a Quentin Tarantino movie. And in this movie, Tarantino gives him some of the best lines he has ever had. He gets a really disturbing scene played against Bruce Dern that is really good, really extreme, really extreme. Starting to get pictures in your head, ain't you? But really good. So if you're a fan of Tarantino's dialogue and Sam Jackson, this is just the perfect marriage. It's so well done. I love Jennifer Jason Leigh as Daisy Domergue. She takes a beating in this movie. Half the time she's covered in blood or getting punched in the face, and she really does a great job of selling that character and making it something interesting when it could have been one note. And this movie is full of very hateful characters, so there is a lot of racism, a lot of misogyny, but it's all because these are horrible, despicable people. And of course, if you see the 70mm version, it has an intermission placed that in the first, hour and 40 minutes, the movie is very deliberately paced. It still has that great Tarantino dialogue, but it's not extremely violent as of that point. And at the intermission, a lot of people were saying, oh, this is pretty reserved Tarantino. But then when we come back, the blood starts to fly and things go crazy. And it ends in typical blood-soaked Tarantino fashion. So if you're not a fan of Tarantino, you don't like his zippy dialogue, you don't like the violence, this is not going to change your mind or win you over. It's got all of those things, but in such a glorious way. I love the way he homages movies that he loves. The cinematography is fantastic. The fact that they chilled the rooms where they were shooting so that everybody's breath can be seen just like in The Thing is amazing. There are some great shots where Sam Jackson takes a sip of coffee and the heat coming off of it billows off of his hat and up, and it's just glorious. And the shot where he faces off with Bob the Mexican, the golden lighting around them is just so well done and so cinematic that I get really excited thinking about how great this movie is. It's got all of those hallmarks, and it is one of my favorite of the year. Even if it's not Tarantino's best, it's still a damn good time. Yes, it is a little bit long. I would say they could have cut out 25 minutes and it wouldn't have been hurt. Yes, the narration that kicks up at chapter 4 works for me in the Roadshow version where we come back from intermission and then we have some narration. But in the standard release version, it's very awkward that all of a sudden we get narration over certain chapters when we haven't had any before. I think it should have been an all or nothing sort of deal. It's made even more distracting by the fact that it's Quentin Tarantino doing the narration on those last 2 chapters, which is again a little bit indulgent, but I'm willing to accept it because the rest of the movie is so fantastic. So if you saw The Hateful Eight, let me know what you thought. Was it right up your alley, or did you think it was dull and boring? Did you love Kurt Russell, or did you think it should have been Christoph Waltz like they had originally planned? Let me know. Hit the comments, like the video. Don't forget to hit subscribe. And if you like what you see, check out more Crantastic videos right here.